I encourage pastors to go to your chief of police and your sheriff, introduce yourself, give them your first and last name, because lawbreakers never give you their name, and tell them you're a minister in the community, and you'd like to know a little bit more about the concerns and the needs of the city. And if they have police chaplains, and they'll say yes or no, you tell them, well, you're a minister, and you'd like to be of help in any way that you can. Police chaplains, they need two. Typically, law enforcement need police chaplains for two reasons. Either do death notifications, where that somebody passes away, car accident, something happens, they need to minister, because they're trained to do paperwork, and they hate people. People, they're going to get emotional. So typically what will happen is that they'll give you a call. They'll say, we need a chaplain for a death notification. Can we swing a squad car by your house in 15 minutes? Yep, go ahead. 2:30 in the morning, he comes by, picks you up, and on your way over, he says, now here's what happened. It's a 35-year-old head-on collision and killed on the scene. We're going to be going to the mother's house, and the father is not there. He's passed away, or whatever the case is. You get a little window of information. That's all you need. You go to the door, and he knocks on the door. She comes to the door. Do you have a daughter named so-and-so? Yes. And then he says, sad news to tell you, passed away at a head-on collision. And whatever happens after that is your job. You don't have to give any of the bad news. It's just when they hear the bad news. So you're going to do the emotional part, which allows the law enforcement officer to do all the paperwork. And he is so grateful to have a chaplain there, because then he can do his work. The second reason that law enforcement want chaplains is because a law enforcement person, they do a lot of scary things, homicides and all kinds of stuff. And it stacks up inside of their heart. The sheriff told me this in Jamestown, North Dakota, 30-some years. And he said, they can tell us that, I have an alcohol problem because of stress or whatever the case is. I'm not getting along at home. He said, we have HR departments, and they can go unload and tell all that stuff. The problem is it all comes right back here, and then they get fired. So if there's a minister in that squad car who knows how to earn the respect by not preaching, but being a good listener, gradually that officer will begin to trust, and then he'll unload everything. Because he knows if there's a confidential minister, it'll all stay right there. And that is why a minister is a huge asset to local law enforcement. So you're not having to sell anything. Right. When you come in, you're an answer. Right off the bat. Mayors, same thing. If you meet the mayor, like to know the concerns of the city. Take them out to lunch. Of course, they're going to ask you how many folks show up on a Sunday morning. But I encourage every pastor, go to a city council meeting. When you come in the door, there's a guy with a clip sheet, and he's going to want to know which issue you're there to argue about. You say, I'm not here to argue about anything. I just want to understand the needs of the city and get to meet our city leaders. When you go in, I want you to go in halfway, middle aisle, and sit down about halfway down on the left-hand side, first chair in. Because people, they look up 65% of the time, they look up from their podium to the right, and they scan left and look back down again. They look up right, scan left, and they look back down again. If you're halfway back, now typically they overlook the first two rows. The only people that sit up there are people that love you, or they're there to be a dog catcher, whatever. And they don't see the people in back. So I want you to be the face they see every time they look up. So the mayor, when they're doing this, and I want you right in that middle aisle, and you're going to meet him eye to eye. Now, not everything he talks about is going to be popular. So I want you to be his support. So when he looks up, he sees you smiling, and when he says something intelligent, you nod, like it's good preaching. And right away, you start building a relationship, and the guy can't hardly wait for the me to get over to meet you. And then afterwards, you go up, and he's happy to meet you. Hi, my name is Reverend so-and-so, and I just wanted to get a chance to meet the city leaders and see what the needs are of the city. The mayor will start introducing you to the other city council members. I mean, you walk out way more powerful than you came in. Right. And the reason you walk out powerful is that you now have influence. Right. Because you now become one of the go-to potential people, because in every city something sad will happen. A death of an officer, something sad happens, and suddenly that's when the minister shines, because that's what he does best. That's what we do best, is when there's sad pain and death. So that's a time they need to call on a man of God. So after that happens, you ask the mayor, I'd like to take you to lunch and, just get to know a little bit more about the city. There's a time a politician wants to be seen with a preacher, and there's a time they don't. There's a time that when he's running for office, he wants to be seen with every preacher in town, so that people see that he's open to everybody. But once he's elected, he's not half as excited because now it looks like he's caving in, right? The more conservative you are, the more they're going to try to almost kind of stay back a little bit, because now people are seeing him in the chair. Who's he connecting with? Anyway, long story short, so when you kind of know some of those things in advance, you know how you can help him, and by helping him, you're helping the opportunity for the gospel.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I'd rather do stuff where people run to the table than where you have to drag them.
Right.
Anyway, those are just the simplest things to connect with city leaders, and you want to. Within 2 years, you can run your town.
Yeah.
In 2 years.
Yeah.
Because you find the lead horses.
Right.
The lead horses are the people that actually run the show. So I would typically take a banker and a school teacher and a farmer, about 4 or 5 people out to lunch, and I'd say, who are three or four people that run this town? And certain people's names show up on all of their lists. That's your hit list. Those are the people that run this town.
Right.
So when you start praying for people, you start looking for ways to connect with those people. And there's 3 things about lead horses. Lead horse is kind of an equestrian thing. The stallion's up on the hill, mares are in the valley drinking water. He lifts his head, sniffs the air like maybe there's trouble, and the mares, they stop drinking. The moment that he smells trouble, he takes off like a shot, and the mares, without even hesitation, they take off after him. That's exactly the way people groups are. And lead horses, they may or may not have a title, but they're always telling about the most recent thing that's going on in their life, and they typically have a following. So, you reach a half dozen people, you get a whole town.
Right.
Because they talk to a lot of people.
Right.
I had a nice lunch the other day. You wouldn't think so. This guy, Lonnie, he looks like he doesn't have a bean in his head, and he doesn't. But he's still a nice guy. He's friendly. He's interested. He wants to be helpful. He didn't tell me where his church was. He didn't tell me what time church services were.
Right.
He was so totally interested in how to contribute.
Absolutely.
And once that becomes a consistency about your visits, meeting city people, they carry your message for you.
That's
now,
good.
if I tell you anything else, you have to shoot one of us.
That's good.